like I'm going, aren't they? And I am, so there you go. Hello everybody and welcome to my kitchen. We're in the kitchen again. We're going to talk about meal stretches. No cooking tonight, folks. But I'm hoping I'll be able to give you lots of ideas to help you make your cooking go further, which will make your grocery dollar go further. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Meal stretches. I'm on the kitchen stool and it's a bit squeaky. I'll try not to move. I don't know why it's squeaky, but anyway. So we have power too. Our power went out on Tuesday night just before I did the show. The lights and everything flickered about 10 past 7 and only just for a few seconds saved by the bell. So I finished up what we had to do and I went to bed. The power went off about 11:15 on Tuesday night. Didn't come back on again until 4:48 yesterday afternoon. Oi, talk about throw the best laid plans into chaos. It was atrocious. But I was really grateful that we have a wood heater, so we weren't cold. We have a gas cooktop, so I could still boil water for a cuppa, and I used the thermos. I'd boil a pot of water and tip it into the thermos so that I didn't have to keep using the cooktop. So we were sort of right. So Tom did come out at lunchtime and say, we have waffle. Oh, we can't have waffles. There's no electricity. That's all right. And we did have an easy tea because I was thinking, I don't know when this power is supposed to come back on. Every time I checked, it would go forward by another 3 hours. And oh my goodness. But anyway, it finally came on. We had an easy tea. And the day was quite simple, really. And it's amazing what you can do when you don't have power. Amazing. You can dust, you can polish, you can still clean your bathrooms, you can still clean your kitchen, you can sweep the floor. You can't vacuum, but you can sweep the floor, you can wipe down tables, you can clean the oven, you can clean out the fridge. There's heaps of things you can do when you don't have power. It's amazing. So if you ever have an extended blackout, you'll be able to find things to do, trust me, and read. I ended up reading. I sat in a chair with a rug over me and read for a while too, which was really nice. The only thing I was worried about was the freezers. And as the outage sort of dragged on and on and on, I was really starting to get quite antsy about them. We didn't open any of them. And I have 2 big chest freezers and a small upright, as well as the top of the fridge. So there's a lot of frozen food in there, and most of it's meat. So if it had gone and defrosted beyond being able to be refrozen, I would have been beside myself, and I'd still be cooking because I would have had to cook it all to refreeze it. But it stayed frozen, and I did some on my phone while I still had battery left in my phone. I did some research, and as long as the temperature of the item is under 5 degrees, it's safe to be refrozen. So, but everything was still rock solid. When I went out, the power came back on. The first thing I did was check the freezers, and everything was still rock solid, frozen solid. So that was really good. I know they do say that chest freezers will stay frozen safely for 24 hour power outage, but I did want to be careful. Now, on that note, the lovely Carol Ryan posted a tip a while back now about how she had used her freezer inventory and her fridge inventory to make a claim on her insurance when they had a power outage that went for a few days. And so she lost everything in her freezers. Now, Carol lives country, so she only goes shopping probably once a month, I think it is. She's not a weekly shopper at all. She's in the country, and she relies on her freezer stocks to feed her family and visitors. So not having them was a big deal, and replacing them would cost a fortune. Because she had the inventory and she could prove that she had those things in her freezer, she knew exactly how many packets of chicken fillets and how many sausages and rissoles and loaves of bread and everything. her insurance company just went, never seen anything like it. This is brilliant, and paid it up straight away and saved her an awful lot of hassle. So if you've ever wondered if it's really worth doing your inventories, yes, it is. It really is. Because even if it's just for your own making a shopping list in the future, it's worth it. You don't have to dig through that icy cold freezer to find everything, and you don't forget what you've got. And if you have an insurance claim, it should be a breeze. So now, what else was I going to talk about? Don't know, because I didn't talk about it to you, did I?
No.
No, okay. I had my trusty cup of tea that I'm really appreciating now. I don't have to boil a pot on the stove. Meal stretches. Meat is really expensive. Now, last week I was able to get mince for $6.99 a kilo. Chicken fillets were back down to $6.99 a kilo. Silverside, $8.99 a kilo. I wish it had just come. I'd even go to $6.99. But, oh my gosh, $8.99 for Silverside. Steak, I was able to get rump steak. It was still pricey from my point of view at $13.99 a kilo, but that is much better than the $29.99 a kilo I've been looking at. Roasting beef was $9.99 a kilo. Everything's, even sausages are expensive. $5 a kilo, $4.99 I saw them for, and they were just plain what they call barbecue sausages. So they're really and truly mystery bags. You know, they weren't anything special. Oh my goodness. So I have a husband who likes his meat. You know, I've said this before, feed the man meat, that's him. There's no meat on the plate. It's sort of not a meal, it's a snack. And so I do my best to give him some sort of meat or chicken every night. Just a small amount, doesn't have to be huge, but something for him. But it's getting harder and harder and harder. And the boys, my boys now are men, adults, and they eat an adult-sized meal. So it's getting really harder and harder and harder. Hannah and I are cutting back and back and back so that I don't have to do that. But I do need to stretch the meat as well as stretch the meal. So I went back to what Mum did and what my grandma did, and probably my great-grandma and my great-great-grandma has done, what women have done and homemakers have done for generations, and looked at ways to stretch them. Now, one of my favourite ways to stretch mince is, as you know, to use good old TVP. I used TVP in the pasta sauce this week. I was able to use 500 grams of mince, 1 cup of TVP, rehydrated in a cup of boiling water. I browned the TVP off with the onion and the garlic in the little bit of oil. Then I added the browned mince, and it was fine. It takes on the same colour, it takes on the flavour, it takes on the texture of the meat. Nobody knows the difference. So any mince dish can be stretched with TVP. Now, when you buy it, you might think it's expensive, but this packet was $4.99. $3.99. Is it from Aldi? And it is a 500 gram packet, but that's the equivalent of a kilo of mince. You can't get mince for $3.99 anymore. I used to pay that. That used to be my top price for mince, but you can't get mince for $3.99 anymore. So TVP works well. This one came from Aldi. It was a special buy. Our Aldi still has a few packets, and I was thinking I might pop in on my way past tomorrow and pick up another couple, because it's a dry product. It doesn't go off. It's fine. And it's versatile, and you can use it for spag bowl. You can use it in shepherd's pie. You can use it in rissoles. You can use it in meatballs. It makes great burgers. So any sort of mince dish, pasties, meat pies, any sort of mince dish is good with TVP in it as a stretcher. And if you can use 500 grams of mince and 1 cup of TVP, you've doubled the amount of mince, which means that you can either stretch your pasta sauce or your pie filling or whatever, or you've halved the cost. So something to think about is TVP. The other favourite thing that I use a lot to stretch dishes is just good old baked beans. Now these are Aldi baked beans, but good old fashioned baked beans. These go great in lasagna. So when I'm making lasagna, I use mince and I use baked beans, and I whiz the baked beans in the food processor so they come down into little crumbles that looks a bit like the mince. Stir it through the mince, and because they're in tomato sauce already and it's going into lasagna, it's fine. Now my recipe on the website, on the Cheapskates Club website for refrigerated lasagna, will explain how to do that really simply. But 1 tin of baked beans and 500 grams of mince will make a lasagna, a family size lasagna for you. So again, you've halved the cost of the meat and added just a tin of baked beans, which is about 90 cents roughly. So it's a good meal stretcher, and it tastes good. It tastes really good, and it's good for you. Baked beans are full of fibre, really good for you. An easy stretcher that doesn't cost a lot of money. I also use them in enchiladas. When I'm doing chicken enchiladas, I will use 1 chicken fillet and a tin of baked beans. And the secret to the chicken fillets for the enchiladas is to dice it into small dice, not big chunks, not great big chunks, little, probably maybe 1.5 centimetre square chunks. Now, the advantage of that is it browns off really quickly, so you're not standing there for a long time browning it off, but it goes so much further when you do that. The bigger chunks, you'll use more than 1 chicken fillet. And I'm not being mean and mingy and stingy and horrible and just cheap. I'm trying to give everyone a little bit of meat and stretch that meal so that our grocery budget isn't put under stress, because there's other bills we have to pay. So something has to give. Grocery budget is the one thing you have complete and utter control over. You decide how much you're going to spend on your groceries, and you decide what you're going to spend it on. So you can spend a lot on the meat and miss out on the other stuff, or you can spend a lot on the meat, have the other stuff, and something else is going to miss out. It's up to you. I would rather be a little bit more careful with my planning and stretch what I've got so that we still eat really well and nothing else is impacted. It doesn't take any longer to cut it into small dice. Okay, sorry, maybe 1 minute longer to cut it into small pieces than it does to cut it into big pieces. It certainly doesn't take any longer to cook it. So it's worth thinking about. The good old baked beans are handy for so many things. Right, now, common spud. Not cheap at the moment, although I did get them for 70 cents a kilo over the weekend. 80 cents. 70 cents, 80 cents a kilo, $8 a bag for 10 kilos, $7 a bag for 10 kilos of potatoes at the weekend. And that's the cheapest I've been able to get potatoes for a long time. So I got a couple of bags. We go through a lot of spuds because they're a good stretcher. Now they are good for stretching as a side dish. They're also really good for adding to things. So when I'm doing sausage rolls, as in normal sausage rolls, if I want to double them, I use 500 grams of sausage mince and 2 or 3 potatoes that have been steamed and mashed, just dry mashed. They don't have to have butter and milk or anything in them, just dry mashed, and mix that through the sausage mince when I mix through the bread. Doubles the amount of filling. It doesn't double the cost. So something to think about. Of course, we all know, and I mentioned it last week, if you want to stretch a meal, you can add potatoes, extra potatoes to your soup, to your casseroles, to your stews, peel them, dice them up. Again, dice them small. Don't do them in big chunks, dice them into smaller chunks. And they don't have to be chicken 1.5 centimetres small, but smallish, maybe 1 inch square is fine. And It is purely psychological, especially with men. If they are, size is everything to them. So a big plate overflowing with food is important. Small dice goes further, looks better, looks like heaps on the plate, and it's probably just what you would normally give them anyway. So think about that. Now, potatoes can be added to pie fillings. Of course, we can do shepherd's pie and stretch it with potato on top, but French shepherd's pie uses 1 or 2 slices of roast meat and the rest is mashed potato. And the trick to that is to have an onion and some garlic and fry it off really well. Cook your onion, saute your onion really well, then mix it through your mashed potato, then mix through the shredded meat. Now, I shred the meat for French shepherd's pie, I don't chop it. So it's 1 or 2 slices, maybe 3 if there's 3 left from the roast. And I get the forks and I shred them. Shred it, and mix that through the potato and put that into the dish. Fork over the top, brush it with an egg and bake it. It's really good. But don't be stingy on your seasonings. So onion, garlic, salt, pepper, some herbs if you want to, depending on what the meat is. You can add some herbs for flavouring. But again, your potato will stretch that meal so that those 2 or 3 slices of roast meat can feed 6 or 8 people. So good old spuds are great stretchers. I had to go through the pantry and pull out all the things I was thinking, what do I have to stretch meals? Oh my goodness. Soup mix, beans, lentils, dried or canned. These are dried because that's what I had in the cupboard. Are good stretchers. You can do them on their own. You can do beans on their own and just add taco seasoning or burrito seasoning or enchilada seasoning to them and make burritos or enchiladas with just the beans, or tacos with just the beans and salad, or nachos with just the beans or salad. And another really good thing is baked bean nachos. So it's just heat the baked beans, stir in the seasoning, put it over the corn chips, and just add your salad and away you go. Another cheap meal, and it goes a long way. Good old soup mix. Now, soup is easy to make. It really is. And good soup is easy to make too. You don't need any special equipment. Just a pot with a lid and a stove to cook it on. You don't need to have, what's it called, Instapots. You don't have to have that soup pot thing that's all the rage at the moment where it makes soup. Seriously? It's a pot on the stove will make soup, because the machine, the unit doesn't make the soup. It's what you put into it that makes the soup. So you need water or stock and some veggies. If you want to, you can add some chicken, or you could use a lamb shank if you can afford them, or lamb necks make nice soup. Shins make good soup, whatever. But soup is easy to stretch too, because you can literally just add more stock. You can add water, but water doesn't add flavour, and you want something with flavour. So if you don't have stock, you add water, add some stock powder as well to give it the flavour, because as long as it tastes good, you're going to enjoy it. Now, if you're going to serve soup, serve it with bread or crumpets or muffins or even scones or damper. And damper is really easy. It's just flour and water shaped into a thing and baked. It's really easy. Serve it so that, and that way a pot of soup will do 2 or 3 meals. It might cost you $6 or $7 to make, but it'll do 2 or 3 meals. You will get 10 or 12 or 14 serves out of a pot of soup. So think about that, and think about how you use your dried and tinned beans. They can make salads too. Beans make really good salads as well. What else have I got? Oh, passata for tomato soup. Another stretcher for casseroles, for curries, for stews, for pasta sauces. It doesn't have to be thick and solid. It can have, what is it, is it My Kitchen Rules, the Master Chef? Where's the sauce? More sauce. Add sauce. It will stretch a meal. Gravy will stretch a meal. I know it sounds weird, but you can have just a couple of slices of roast or chicken or whatever, and gravy, and the gravy will stretch it. It looks better, it tastes better, and it goes further. Okay. Spaghetti and pasta are great stretchers for all sorts of things, not just for pasta bake, not just for spag bowl, not just for lasagna. You don't need, now my pasta container is empty. It's usually got noodles or twists or shells in it, but I'm out. So it's empty. But add pasta to your soup and it will go further. If you don't have noodles or shells, get your regular old spaghetti and easy as. Still a couple. My kids eat this stuff dry. Most kids do. Snap it into small pieces. So they're only, I don't know, probably an inch, 2 centimeters or whatever it is, into little pieces. And add that to your soup. Now, if you're adding that to chicken soup, that becomes like chicken noodle soup. It's really good. So now I'm going to have to find somewhere to put this so I can use it up. So just break it up. Think about how you can use what you have to stretch a meal. Spaghetti. Passata on its own, if you heat a bottle of passata, add in half a diced onion and just a splodge of cream, you've got tomato soup. If you're in a hurry. Often this can be picked up on sale, 79 cents a jar. Now that's a big jar, it's 700 mils. It is 700 mils. Yep, 700 ml jar. So that's more than a tin of tomato soup anyway. And it's really good. Just don't, if you're going to add milk or cream to it, just don't boil it so it doesn't curdle. Now, my 2 absolute favourite stretchers next to the baked beans over here are rolled oats and rice. So many things you can do with rolled oats, and they are not just for breakfast. Well, they're good for breakfast. They are not just for breakfast. When I make rissoles or burgers or meatballs, I always add an equal quantity of oats, just dry oats. So I've got 500 grams or roughly a cup of mince to a cup of oats. Mix it through. You will need to use 1 extra egg because the oats will soak up the moisture, and that's what you want them to do. Add oats. You can add oats to rissoles, to burgers, to meatloaf. You can add oats to pies and pasties and things like that too. What else do I put oats in? Can't think. I had it just on the tip of my tongue and it's gone. It'll come back to me. But you can use oats for so many things. They're really good. They're not just for breakfast. They're not just for Anzacs. Use them in your mince dishes. And it doesn't matter whether it's chicken or beef or lamb mince or pork mince if you use it, because the oats will take on the colour of what you're cooking or what you're mixing them with. I buy my oats in bulk, which is why they're in the big container. But oats are cheap, about 99 cents a packet. They go a long way. And again, they're really good for you. A cheap way to stretch a meat meal with oats. Ditto rice. If I add rice to rissoles, we call them porcupines. Do you remember the old-fashioned, Mum used to make them when I was a girl, little meatballs, and you put rice in them and you cook them in the tomato soup and the rice would poke out, and we call them porcupines. So I make meatballs with rice. Same deal, cup of mince to a cup of rice. Mix it through. If you're adding rice, you need to make sure that you're going to have enough liquid in your casserole or whatever to cook the rice, because nobody likes dry, crunchy rice. But again, it's a cheaper extension of the meat. Really good. Now, fried rice is a really good meal that stretches forever. You can get so many serves out of fried rice. Cook up a cup of rice. Now, if you cook up a cup of rice into, I do 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water in the microwave for 12 minutes. Perfect. That's enough for us to feed us with a serve left over of fried rice. And all I add to it is some onions, some celery, a beaten egg, and sometimes there might be a little bit of chicken left, there might be a little bit of ham left, there might be a little bit of something, steak or whatever that gets chopped up and put into it, and always peas, because it's just not fried rice if it doesn't have peas in it. Now I fry that up, and that goes down really well, but you can stretch it by using more rice and less veggies. You don't need to put meat into that. That can be a meatless meal, and it freezes. So rice is really good. It's good on its own. If you're doing a curry, of course, you've got to have rice with it, because that's what curry is. So anything curried, we have rice. I just cook rice. If I want it to go further though, I don't put the rice in serves on the plate. I stir the rice through and then scoop it out onto the plates. It will go much further. So a 6-serve curry will easily get 10 serves out of it if you do that. 10 big serves. Everyone gets a bit, and you've got your rice, you've got everything all in together. If you're going to do that, put it in a bowl. It just looks nicer. Just saying. You don't have to if you don't want to. Rice goes into cream cheese patties. We've got our quick rice patties with the peanut butter, Vegemite, the herbs and onion. Again, more rice. You can double the rice if you want to in that recipe, and it will stretch them. It's up to you. Rice is a really good stretcher. And then the last thing I want to show you to talk about stretching meals is good old bread. Now this is just good old Coles bread that's gone up to $2 a loaf, or $2.20 or something a loaf. It's good old Coles white bread. Tom picked it. White bread, not white bread. Remember your portion control. Now we've talked about portion control before and portion sizes. So a piece of meat should be roughly the size of the palm of your hand. If you've got a big hand, you're lucky. If you've got a small hand, too bad. About the size of the palm of your hand, 180 to 200 grams in weight. That's what's considered a serve of red meat or chicken. So that on a plate won't look so good. I've talked about how you put things in the middle of the plate, not right in the edge. My plates have a rim around them, so we put things in the middle. Fill up with veggies. Now, the ideal dinner plate is, if you split it down the middle, one side, the half side, is full of veggies. So peas, beans, corn, carrot, broccoli, cauliflower, silver beet, Brussels sprouts if you like them, squash, zucchini, pumpkin, all that sort of thing, all those veggies. On the other side, you're going to split it in half. You've got a quarter of it will be for your meat or your chicken or your fish, and the other quarter will be for your starch. So your potato, your rice, your pasta. That's what the ideal plate would look like. I have seen plates, you can buy them, so they are painted up like that. So if you think you're going to forget, buy the plate, and it will remind you every time you look at it. But that's the ideal. That will give you an idea of what your servings and your portions should look like on a plate. So if you think that's not going to work, bread. You can have bread, you can put crackers on the table, but good old bread and butter to fill up in, and especially if it's a nice whole grain bread or multigrain bread or a rye bread or good sourdough, something like that, that you either bought really cheap or made even better, isn't going to cost much, won't add a lot to your grocery budget, but will fill people's tummies and stop the grumbling. Now, there's been a whole, every time I talk about bread, I get into trouble because it's full of carbs and it's full of this and it's full of that. And you know what? We have regular appointments with a dietitian and a diabetes educator. And I was concerned because bread is and carbs are obviously not so good. it was explained to me about 2 years ago probably, that there's an awful lot of people who are doing themselves a serious damage by not eating enough carbohydrates. Our bodies need it. So you don't need to eat a whole loaf of bread every day, and you don't need to eat 2 or 3 potatoes every day and 4 cups of pasta, whatever, but you do need some. So think about it. Think about what else you eat in relation to it and how it works with your meal plan and your diet, because bread can be really good for you, and it is inexpensive. It's not an overly expensive food, and it's common. It's easy to get. If you can't make it, it's easy to buy. It's around. If you're going to buy it, try and get a nice bread, one that everybody likes.
Priya would like to know, is the Easy-O yogurt maker worth it? She's planning on buying one on the weekend.
Yes. Is it on sale, Priya? Is it on sale somewhere? Is Easy-O on sale somewhere? Most definitely is worth it. You will make your yogurt for around, it depends how much your starter costs, it will be under $2 a kilo for really nice yogurt. Now, go back and watch my yogurt making video, but I'll just quickly tell you.
Did a yogurt making video?
Yeah, I did a yogurt video, yeah. Go back and watch it. But if you like really thick yogurt, then you are going to have to use full cream milk powder. Commercial yogurts have thickeners added to them. When you make your own, you're not adding that thickener. So if you like really nice, thick, creamy yogurt, use the full cream milk powder and eat less of it if you're worried about the fat. If the thick yogurt doesn't worry you, then you are fine to use the low-fat milk powders. But if you want nice, thick, creamy yogurt, you must use full cream milk powder. You must. And a good starter. Now, I always start mine with plain Greek, natural Greek style yogurt, because I like that. It seems to work best. You can add your flavorings once it's made, but it's really easy to do. You won't regret it. If your little one likes yogurt, go for it. Well and truly worth it. And of course, you can use your yogurt for so many things, because I often use yogurt in place of sour cream, because it's hard to make sour cream, but it's really easy to make plain yogurt. And it's pretty much, does pretty much the same thing. If you make a nice thick one, not very many people can tell the difference in a recipe. So works really well, and it will save you a fortune. So yeah, if your Easy-O is on sale somewhere, I haven't seen them, but I haven't been looking, then by all means, they often come on sale for half price, so sometimes anywhere between $11 and $14, depending on which store's got them, and they're really worth it. If you're not confident about using a starter and the milk powder and mixing it up yourself in the beginning, then buy some of the sachets, the Easy-O or Hansel's, or I've forgotten what the other brand is, there's 3 brands, of the flavors and whatever, and follow the instructions and try that a couple of times until you're confident of making it, and then you can start doing your own. But really, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, and it's pretty hard to muck up. And I will say that even if you think you've mucked it up and it's thin or it hasn't set properly or whatever, just let me have a drink. Sorry, or whatever, don't throw it out. Use it in baking. So use it to replace the milk in cakes or muffins. Add it to gravies and sauces. Don't throw it out. You can still use it. Use it like you would whey, if you use whey. But it's well worth it. Well worth the investment. Yes, you won't regret it at all. No more questions? No? Alrighty. I can see comments tonight. Maybe I can see comments tonight. Let's get new glasses. Okay. Cannelloni with discounted mince. Okay. So, the other way you can stretch your meals is to remember the portion sizes. So if you've got a recipe that serves 6, make sure you get 6 serves out of it. And straight away, if there's only 4 of you in the family, straight away you've got 2 extra serves to put in the freezer. Now, we were talking about this over on the Cheapskates Chatter site Facebook page this afternoon about batch cooking. Now, and I'm sure I've told you before, but if I'm doing spag bowl, I never just do one recipe. I usually quadruple it because it doesn't take that much longer. It takes maybe 5 minutes longer, but it saves me so much time in the future. I portion it out, freeze it straight away, and it's done. So if you're a family of 4 and you double your spag bowl recipe and it normally serves 6, that gives you 12 serves. That means by doubling your recipe and watching your serves, you've actually got 3 meals for your family out of one double recipe. The trick is to make sure that you portion it off and get it in the freezer straight away, and to watch your portions. Now, when I serve spag bowl, excuse me, I use this trusty ugly red soup ladle that measures out to a half a cup. I've measured it. I want to know how big it was. That's a half a cup. So I put the pasta on the plate, and everyone gets 1 ladle of sauce on their top of their pasta, and then we sprinkle the cheese, and off we go and enjoy it. So measure it out, portion it out. That's more than enough. Even the boys don't complain about not having enough sauce over their pasta with that. That is a huge amount of sauce when you look at it on the plate. It is more than enough. So think about how you do your serves as well with your recipes. Sometimes recipes might only serve 4, in which case it's a single recipe. You'll get 4 serves out of it. But if you're a smaller family, you need to put that extra serve away, or think about doubling the recipe so that you can get the extra meals. It's all probably just thinking a little bit outside the square, taking the time when you aren't feeling so rushed to think, okay, this is what we do. As in, there's 4 of us, but the recipe makes 6. So if I double it, that's 12. That's 3 meals. I can do that. That's easy. And if you do that, if you double every night for a month, then you've got a whole month of cooking. Really easy. And if you stretched it already with TVP or potatoes or baked beans or lentils or rice or oats or whatever, you've cut your grocery budget too. And your bill will go down. You've got a month of cooking and your bill's gone down. All you'll have to do for that month is send some veggies or make a salad, set the table, heat whatever you pulled out of the freezer in the morning, and dinner's done. I love cooking like that. I really like cooking like that. The more I can cook ahead, the happier I am. So when I'm doing rissoles, I don't just do 1 batch of rissoles. I will do 2 or 3 batches. Same with meatballs, same with enchiladas. I don't just do 1 tray. I will do 4 or 5 trays. It's just as easy. It only takes a few minutes longer. You've only got 1 lot of cleaning up to do. So much better. And it keeps your grocery bill down low. It keeps your grocery bill really low. And that's what we want to do. That's what we need to do. Food is getting expensive. Meat is getting expensive. It's too hard for the normal person, the average household in Australia, to eat meat and 3 veg every night for dinner and still maintain a decent, respectable, controllable grocery budget. So we need to think back about the way perhaps we grew up, or our mothers, our parents grew up, or our grandparents. Go back to wartime and see what they did. We don't need to eat the revolting things they did, like cabbage soup does not appeal to me. And the cabbage soup recipe I saw was literally just boiled cabbage in water. It was foul. So we won't be bothering with that. But think about what they did and how they made things. It could be something as simple as looking for an eggless cake recipe and instead of adding eggs, because eggs have become very expensive. You don't have hens. Eggs are a hideous expense. They're a great source of protein, and they're still a cheaper source of protein than meat or chicken. chicken meat, but they're very expensive. So when you're paying $3.50 or $4.50 a dozen, and we go through 2 or 3 dozen eggs a week, it can add a bit to your grocery bill. So you have to find ways to cut it back. It's a simple thing to do. Right, now, I should do I can't see, sorry. Kerry she divides her sauces, am I right? Spaghetti, sorry, darling, you'll have to read it. Sorry, folks.
You're not cooking, so you might as well.
Kerry divides her sauces into serves and freezes them before she uses them for a meal. Yep, that's exactly right. It's the easiest way to go. Swap to dinner plates for entree plates. Yes. It's, as Kerry says, they look just as full, but the portions are smaller. It's purely psychological. It really is. If it looks full, no complaints. But if you've got a big plate with the same amount of food on it spread out, it just does not look as good. It's not as appetizing. It's not as appealing. People, especially men, think they're being hard done by and ripped off. They're not getting enough to eat. So, and Jules uses her homemade jam as flavorings is that for yogurt?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Would have a lot less sugar, unbelievably so, when you think that it does. But you don't have the added pectin and the added acids and things to it either. Right. Okay, now Savers, barbs. Yeah, Savers is an op shop. Priya, we don't have one close to us, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, now find my trusty little Luva Flicky. What's it? Okay. All right. Oh, Yvonne J made cannelloni. I love cannelloni. Right. I could make it myself. Oats in a smoothie is really good and it bulks it up. Thank you, Barb. My Kitchen Rules. It was Manu, wasn't it, of My Kitchen Rules? Always more sauce, more sauce. Where's the sauce? Sauce is good. Pearl barley soups, bulks it out to nearly double. Yep, sure does. Okay. Oh, Barb, 28 cents a kilo for potatoes. Woo! That's a stock up price if ever I saw one. Last time I got potatoes for 20 cents a kilo, I bought 100 kilos.
Maureen Island.
Yep, Maureen, Tasman. I saw Tasman has meat minced for $6.99. Australian Butchers had it for $6.99 last week. I stocked up a bit, and then the power went out in the freezer. Carrot and zucchini and mushrooms, and pasta sauce, 2 jars. Yep. Kerry mentioned mushrooms. Mushrooms are really good to add to things to bulk them out, to add nutrition, of course. If you have someone that doesn't like mushrooms, someone in the family that doesn't like mushrooms, make sure they're really finely minced. Now, I put them through the food processor, so they just go into little tiny crumbles, and by looking at it, you don't know it's a mushroom. So they blend in really, really well. If you can grow your own mushrooms, get a mushroom kit and grow your own. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. We didn't do too badly with our mushroom kit this year, but I've been able to get mushrooms for $5 a kilo for the last few weeks. So that's pretty cheap and they go a long way. Lynn Mac adds red lentils to mince. Yes.
Outback 6 would like to know, how do you keep that many potatoes?
100 kilos of potatoes. Okay. Well, I had a big sort of fruit boxy, cardboardy fruit box thing, and I put probably a dozen sheets of paper down in the bottom of it for a bit of padding, a layer of potatoes, a layer of paper, a layer of potatoes, a layer of paper, and I finished it off. I actually have Hessian sacks that I've collected, old-fashioned potato bags that I've collected over the years. One of those over the top of it, kept it under the veranda where it was dark and dry and not freezing cold. And I would just bring in what we needed each week into the pantry. By the end of the time we were using them up, it was probably maybe 3 or 4 months they lasted us. By the end of the time they were starting to shoot and sprout, I chipped those off. And at the end, I actually did chip some of them and plant them to grow more potatoes. But they lasted for ages. Really, really lasted for ages. It was the cheapest I've had. That would have been about 2 years ago, I think. They were just brilliant potatoes. When I'm buying potatoes, I tend to just buy brushed potatoes rather than washed, because washed potatoes have been tumbled in the washer thing, and it's just a big barrel that bounces them around and spits them out the other end. So I tend to think that they are already half bruised almost. They don't last as long as the brushed potatoes. So if I can get brushed potatoes, I'm really, really happy to do that, and they will keep really well. Yeah. So here we go now. Flipping down here. Okay, so all right, so yeah, I roll up the lasagna sheets too, Kerry. There's a recipe for chicken Alfredo rolls. Yum, really good. And it just uses little lasagna sheets rolled up instead of cannelloni tubes. Cannelloni tubes are too expensive to buy, and you got to fiddle around with them. The lasagna sheets work really well, and you can make your own. They're easy as. So hopefully I've inspired you all to think about how you can stretch the meat content of a meal and then actually stretch that meal until it screams, please eat me, please eat me. And perhaps help your grocery budget a little bit. I would really, really like to be able to know if that's happened. I thought gone. I thought something obviously wasn't important. It'll come back as soon as I click off. Yeah, that was my goal for tonight, to show you or to give you some options for stretching things. Now you can always add more veggies, grated carrot, grated zucchini, the mushroom, celery, all those sorts of things. I've grated sweet potato and pumpkin and put them into things, into soups and stews and casseroles to bulk them out more and add some nutrition. Sorry about itchy lip. But if you don't have them, you can't do that, so you need to use what you've got. So I went through the pantry just before, after we finished dinner and just before I came on, and pulled out what I use to stretch, which is, the oats, the pasta, the TVP, the beans, bread, and that's pretty much what I use to stretch our meals. And every now and then I'll throw in a meatless meal. Next week we've got 4 meatless meals coming up on the meal plan. Nobody will know they're meatless. It's just the way we've got moussaka coming up next week. Yes. So, they're easy to do and they help keep the meat budget down too. Alrighty, so guys, bulk cooking. Oh yes, Rhiannon. Yep. Just think about, if you bulk cooking, just what you're normally going to make, look at what you plan to make and double it, and bung the extras in the freezer. Easy as. Okay, so
Yes.
Yes, Kerry, we bought eggplant too. Weren't they massive? Oh, and so shiny, so good. Moussaka and focaccia filling. Those eggplants are, but I have to say, if I never have to dice another capsicum again for a while, I'll be happy. Box of capsicum get me going for a while. I was able to get capsicums for $5 a box on Sunday, tomatoes for $10 a box. So we had big pasta sauce making session, and then dicing capsicum just to go in the freezer for the capsicum. So hey, takes a bit of ages. But yeah, so we got pasta sauce for probably 8 or 9 months, which is not too bad. Well and truly cooked ahead. Yeah. Yeah, they were, Kerry. They were cannonballs. They're huge. Oh, Rhiannon, I make vegetarian vegetable moussaka. I don't put meat in my moussaka. I don't use lamb in our moussaka at all. Anyway. Congratulations, Priya. Cole's Little Toys. Now, I saw on the news people were actually fighting over the little baskets and trolleys and things that go with those Coles little shops, little shop thingamajiggeters. Oh my giddy aunt. Get a life, people. Don't be conned into. Don't get me started.
Says you that one of them last time.
Well, I was using them for magnets.
No, not the trolley. Not the toys. The trolley.
Oh, the little trolley. Yeah. Oh, I'm over that now. One day I'll have grandchildren and I could have used a little trolley if I ever get grandchildren. I'll be too old to enjoy them. Okay. Anyway, folks, so stretched our meals, stretched our meat. Hopefully you've got some ideas. There are lots of recipes. If you go into the recipe file, there are loads of recipes with minimal meat and lots of extra stretches in them, and they won't be called stretch recipes. So have a look through the beef recipe file. The vegetarian recipe file is really good if you're thinking of meatless meals, and you can still stretch those. Oh, with the rice, I mentioned rice and fried rice. Hannah's rolling her eyes at me. But Singapore noodles use minimal meat and veggies, and the noodles themselves are inexpensive. You can get them from Aldi, and they're $3 something a packet, and a packet will easily do 4 to 6 adults easily. They take minimal meat. You know, you can use a half a leftover chicken fillet in Singapore noodles with some carrot and some celery, some spring onion, make some honey sauce and thicken it with a little corn flour, stir it through. Yeah, capsicum. I've got capsicums coming out of places you never thought there'd be capsicum, and we could add some capsicum to it. Easy and simple, tasty, has veggies in it. It's not a bad meal, so think about that too. It's another option for stretching a little bit of meat to go a long, long way. But do look up the French shepherd's pie recipe and think about noodles. There's lots of recipes for noodles, but they'll be in the vegetarian file. Okay, now Kerry says 2-minute noodles, 1 cup of frozen veggies, seasonings and Singapore noodles. Yeah, 2-minute noodles are really expensive though. Sorry. I was looking at, we don't have them anymore. I used to give them to the children when they were little, but we haven't had them for ages. They're so expensive. Anyway, Kalgoorlie costs a lot of money. We only have Woolies and Coles. Vicky, it's all relative. Veggies cost a lot of money everywhere. When we're on Cape York, everyone kept telling me, oh, the food's so expensive, the food's so expensive. It wasn't that much more expensive than what I was paying at home. And some of the things were cheaper. So it's all relative. Anyway, okay, guys. Bulk capsicum, I freeze them. Outback 6 wanted to know about bulk capsicum. I freeze them. I dice it. Okay, so when I dice a capsicum, it's a nice big round one. Pretend this is the capsicum and that's the little stalky thing. I just cut the sides off as close to the stalky thing as I can so that there's just the bit left with all the seeds on it. You can save the seeds if you want to. And then I just slice it and dice it, or slice it and bag it up and freeze it. I bag it in half cups into Ziploc bags and freeze it. I reuse the Ziploc bags over and over and over until they don't zip anymore. So that's the easiest way to go. All right, folks, it's time to go. I'll be back on Tuesday. I hope you can join me then. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Just underneath the video there, you'll see a thumbs up would be really nice. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you click the little bell, you'll get a reminder sent to you when there's a new show on, and that's usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I shall see you all on Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, wherever you are. Stay warm, stay dry, stay safe, and enjoy living the Cheapskates way. I shall see you on Tuesday. Bye.